Snakes! There's a couple things that we all universally know are true about snakes, right? They're slimy, mischievous creatures that'll size you up and eat you whenever the opportunity presents itself. Am I right? Actually, no, I'm not, because all of those things are gross, outrageous myths. So today we're going to discuss the difference between fact and fiction and talk about some of the most outlandish myths when it comes to snakes. My name is Ryder, you're watching Copperhead Exotics. Stick around. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's episode of Copperhead Exotics. We've got a good one planned for you. But before I dive too deep in today's topic, I just want to take a moment of time and say thank you to everyone who decided to watch the launch of the channel last week. It really did mean the world to me to see all of you kind of come together, watch the videos, comment, engage. Some of you reached out to me personally, which I really appreciated. So thank you all so much to everyone who decided to tune in to the launch of the channel last week. And if this is your first video where you're seeing me, welcome. I'm happy to have you here too. If you feel like it, go ahead and watch some of my other videos where I talk about my upload schedule, mention a few other topics about snakes, lizards, spiders, as well as introduce you to this handsome devil right here. But other than that, let's jump into today's topic. So working at that amnesty center that I described in the other video, I've heard a lot of misconceptions about snakes. Some that are somewhat warranted and I can understand the confusion, some that are completely outlandish. But regardless of how many times I tried to explain or educate on the situation, there are a couple of myths about snakes that I just hear over and over and over again. Starting off with the one that I hear in the South the most often, which is going to be that snakes chase people. This one I hear quite frequently in Florida. We have a native species called a cottonmouth, otherwise known as a water moccasin, and a lot of people have weird wives' tales about these things chasing them in john boats out in the middle of nowhere. And look, I'm sure somebody has had an experience somewhere where they encountered a water moccasin and then that moccasin behaved a little bit erratically and it scared them. I can definitely believe that that circumstance has happened once or twice to some people out there. But for a water moccasin to actually chase you through the forest with ill intent to bite you, no, that has never happened. Snakes inherently are not aggressive animals. They do not want to confront with you. In fact, venomous snakes, their venom is a resource to them and they don't want to give it to you just because you happen to be in their territory. Now, snakes can act defensively. If they feel like you are a threat to their territory, a threat to their personal well-being, they are within their right to attack you. And so yeah, if you're walking around in the woods and you happen to step on a water moccasin, I think the water moccasin's probably going to behave a little bit defensively and bite you. But if you commit the crime of simply walking through the woods, no moccasin in its right mind is going to confront you and chase after you to bite you. And the moment you know that the snake is there, you are at an advantage. Because if I were a betting man and I had to bet between a random water moccasin in the Florida Everglades and you with a size 12 hiking boot, I think you would win. And the snake knows this, hence why it's not going to chase after you. If what I'm saying doesn't quite make sense to you or there's still a little bit of doubt in there, let me explain it in a real world scenario that you might be able to understand. Have you ever been walking into a room at the same time that somebody else is walking out? Whether you want to or not, you instinctively try to get out of each other's way, and you just happen to pick the same direction sometimes. Meaning both of you are actively trying to get out of the way of the other person, but you keep mirroring each other on accident, so you end up doing this little dance where both of you just end up mirroring each other in the doorway. I think this is the exact circumstance that happens whenever you see a water moccasin, the water moccasin is surprised by you, you want to get away from it, it wants to get away from you, and you guys just happen to pick the same direction to sprint. You look behind you and you see a snake that's slithering towards you. The snake doesn't have the best vision in the world, it thinks it's getting away from you, but both of your perspectives are wrong. So while yes, a snake can behave defensively on occasion and it can lunge at you to strike on occasion, no snake is going to go out of its way to tackle you as if you're CJ Stroud. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about our next one. And that is that snakes are slimy. Ew! I hear this a lot from people who frankly have never touched a snake before. And I understand why to a certain extent. Snakes do have a natural sheen to the scales. They do have a nice little shine there that makes it look as though they have some type of oil resonating on their skin. Snakes do have a slight hydrophobic nature to the scales, which means that water can kind of bounce off of it. But the shine that you see on the scales is not made from oil or slime. In fact, let me extend it out and talk about an animal that does carry oil in its skin. Human beings. Human beings have oils that run through our skin for the same purpose of trying to be semi-hydrophobic and help water kind of glide over the skin. However, I wouldn't go as far as to say that you are a slimy creature. Unless, of course, you actually think that Val Kilmer is the best live-action Batman. You know who you are. Then in that circumstance, yeah, you might be a tad bit slimy. But snakes? Not slimy, my friends. Not slimy at all. To go even farther and prove that snakes are not slimy, let's look to cinema. In probably every old Western movie that you've ever seen, there's always a con man, right? He sets up shop in the middle of the town and he's selling all of the townsfolk his miracle elixir. This elixir does everything. It solves every disease, makes you a millionaire, grows you a full head of hair. It sounds great. And what is the primary ingredient in this elixir, you might add? It's always what? I'll wait a little bit. Snake oil. That's how you know that he is conning everybody out of their money in that movie, because snake oil, as we've discussed, does not exist. Snakes don't even have oil to their skin. So yes, that con man is lying to you. He's ripping you out of $1. Val Kilmer is not the best live-action Batman, and snakes are not slimy. These are facts. So with that out of the way, let's go to our next one. Boy, oh boy, if all the things on this list were ranked in how much they annoy me, this one would be number 1. And that is that snakes size you up to eat you. Not many things get under my skin when it comes to misinformation about animals, but this is definitely one of them. Just because it's been debunked so many times and it is invented purely for malicious intent towards snakes. For those of you who don't know the story behind this one, I'll go ahead and briefly mention it to you. So a woman had a pet snake, and every single night this snake would escape its enclosure and she would wake up in the middle of the night and find that the snake was straightened out right alongside her in bed. She took it to the veterinarian the following day and asked what was happening, and the veterinarian said that she needed to get rid of the snake because every night it was breaking out of its enclosure and it was measuring the woman, sizing her up because it was plotting to eat her in her sleep. And let me tell you guys, this did not happen. It is a complete fabrication invented only by people online to spread misinformation about snakes. This will not happen, it never has happened, and it never will happen. But if you don't trust my word at face value on that, let's explain exactly why this won't happen. First and foremost, snakes don't have the mental capacity to be able to plot out this massive Ocean 11 plan to eat somebody. This is Buck, my ball python. I've had him for close to 10 years, and although I love the guy and he's very curious and intuitive, I wouldn't say he's the smartest animal on planet Earth. He probably does not even recognize that I am the individual who has fed him the last 500 times. Secondly, snakes are what we call opportunistic feeders, which means they see food, they eat food. That's how it is, that's their instinct. Snakes, biologically speaking, do not have the ability to be picky about what they eat and when they eat. Now, I get that I say that and I'm holding a ball python, which is historically known for being a picky eater in captivity. But what I mean is that if you are a Burmese python and you are living out in the jungle, you might not find an opportunity to eat a full-size meal every other month or so, maybe. And so if a rabbit walks in front of you, what you aren't going to do is then say,
"Oh, great heavens. Hey, Mr. Rabbit, sorry to inconvenience you, but do you mind standing completely still real quick while I measure myself out to see if I can eat you? Thank you. I appreciate this. You're really doing me a solid here, buddy."
No, absolutely not. If you are hungry and you haven't eaten in 2 months, you're going to eat that rabbit. You're not going to ask any questions. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's I'm going to put that thing in my mouth and worry about the repercussions later. That's how snakes operate. That is opportunistic feeding. Another thing that supports this point is a famous image of a Burmese python down in the Everglades that ended up exploding itself when it tried to eat a full-size alligator. Some people will actually try to use this picture and use it as proof that snakes will actually size you up and eat you, because if it tried to eat a full-size alligator, it'll try to eat you too. But if anything, it dismantles that argument and it proves my point that snakes do not consciously think about what they put in their mouths. Because if snakes actually did what you suggest and they size up their prey before they eat them, why would this python even think that he had a chance of eating this alligator? The snake tried to eat it because they don't plan out their meals and they don't have the cognitive functioning to determine what they can and can't eat in that moment, and it paid the price for it. So in summary, no. Snakes do not size up their prey to eat them. This is not something that happens ever, ever, ever. Snakes do not size up anything, but you know what is something that needs to be sized up? my subscriber count. If you like today's video, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe. It really does help me out. And I know we talked about a lot of different myths today, but let me tell you something that isn't a myth. I appreciate every single one of you for watching today's video. Go ahead and leave a comment down below telling me some more outlandish snake myths that maybe you've heard in your life, as well as give me a suggestion for what I should do for my next video. And although I'm filming this before the NFL Conference Championships happen, I'm sure by the time you're watching this, they're going on, and so I hope whatever team you like wins. Is that safe enough for me to not get any backlash from any type of fan bases? It's gonna have to be. But anyways, it's getting late and I have a lot of editing to do to make sure that you guys have an awesome video every week. And so I will see you all on the next one. Thank you for watching today's episode. Have a good one.